What's up, everybody? This is Colin from Holistic Heritage Homestead. I hope you're all well. Today's video is going to be about 3 of my favorite tips to help you with container gardening. And to me, these are 3 of the most overlooked, underrated, rarely talked about things when it comes to growing in containers. And my problem, and again, obviously got to be a little bit controversial, got to upset a few people, but my problem is some people think that container gardening or growing in raised beds is a completely different methodology than growing in ground or in rows or with hugelkultur. And let me tell you, there are some things that are different. Drainage is different. Growing medium, different. Sure, obviously containers are portable. But I'm also going to tell you that a lot of the principles are exactly the same. Your containers are a micro version of the macro. You're just taking a little bit of what would be in the earth and you're putting it in a container because you should be growing in growing mediums that you have inoculated with good bacteria, whether that is a good organic fertilizer that has good bacteria and mycorrhizae, and or you're using your own compost to inoculate that, and or you are using some native soil which has all of the beneficial bacteria and protozoa and all the good stuff already in it into your growing mediums. Okay, that's going to be another great video, is how do we prepare our growing mediums, folks, to save you money. So these are 3 tips that I think are huge, that will save you money, save you time, and get you the biggest investment return you could imagine. So, number 1 is when you're growing, no matter what you do, you're going to have, especially these containers move inside and outside, you're going to have, and no matter how good your potting medium or soil may be, whether you buy it, you make your own, you're going to have weeds. They're going to pop up. Weeds, grass, volunteer plants, as I call them. It's going to happen. Get over it. You know what you do? Same principles apply for in-ground as containers. Most people would immediately, for example, see something like this little guy over here. Look at him. Happy, healthy, living his life, living his best life, right? They would take this plant and pull it out. Here's why I'm going to tell you that in most circumstances, that's a horrible idea. Look, next to this moringa, weed. Guess what? I'm going to leave it. What about this over here? Grass. I'm going to leave it next to this moringa, or the melon guy. Why do I leave, for the most part, volunteer plants and weeds in my containers? The same reason you do it when you're growing in the ground. These volunteers, whether they're weeds or not, remember weeds, if you look at my Let It Grow, Let It Grow, Let It Grow video, weeds actually remediate and heal and repair and revitalize your soil. Anything that creates photosynthesis is taking energy from these very cheap, affordable grow lights that I rotate, right? No excuses, folks. There's always a way. Taking the energy from that and through photosynthesis, releasing exudates and beneficial sugars and nutrition to the microbiology in the soil, which is going to do what? Help out his buddy over here, right? Help out his buddy over here. It's a team thing. The more you have growing, just like in ground, in your pots, the healthier. And people say, oh, you're not going to have as much microbiology in container growing. Sure, probably not. But you can have it, and you should have it, right? Okay? And things will break down, and they will compost in situ or in place, and it's definitely going to feed this. It also acts as a rain break, and as almost the form of a living green mulch, okay? Let them grow. Let the weeds grow. However, pro tip, the only reason you would pull weeds or grass or volunteers out is if they're competing for nutrients, or they're competing for water, or maybe shading out your other plants. Most of the time, they're never gonna shade your other plants. If you water them well, that's not a problem. And if you fertilize through organic fertilizer and or compost, well, they're not gonna compete for nutrients. The amount of exudates these little guys are releasing into the soil are a bigger benefit. Let them go, let it go, okay? Number 2, right? You're looking at these plants saying, oh man, I thought this guy Colin, man, I thought he knew about gardening, what's going on? They're looking kind of sad. Folks, it's the middle of the winter, a very harsh winter. These plants, their only job is to get their chill hours, to actually go semi-dormant or dormant, relax. And for example, this is a chili pepper plant. This is actually a serrano, actually. This is a serrano. These things can be pruned even. They could be, I could prune them myself, take off all the leaves or leave a few of them. And this thing will snap back into action and come alive with new growth next season. Now, why would I want to overwinter pepper plants or chili plants, which most people don't even know you can do, and that's going to be its own video? Why? Because I'm not starting out from 0 next season. These are fully grown plants. They're going to get huge next season and give me a prolific, monstrous harvest. So I'm going to start new plants as well, because can't stop growing, folks. But it's good to practice overwintering plants because it gives you a head start and it gives you guaranteed production no matter what happens, right? Backups for backups for backups. So these sad looking plants, a lot of people prune them or they take the foliage off. I don't. I let it die naturally like this. Look, so pleasing and so satisfying. This just dry leaf, hear that? Guess what? What do I do? What do I do? It turns into mulch. Yeah, that's it. And let's say I don't like this guy. I don't like this right here. This guy bothers me. I don't like him. All right? Whatever. I'm pruning, whatever. It breaks off. It gets weak. Guess what? You have also a micro version of chop and drop. Now, why do I want to do that, Colin? It's a container. It's not. Well, guess what, folks? These were outside. And all these wonderful leaves, these volunteer leaves and oak leaves, guess what? Some of them are large, some are small. They're gonna break down in place like you would normal chop and drop, like you would normal mulching, okay? They're gonna become nutrition, but they're also holding in moisture at the most important place, which is the root level, right? And that's gonna prevent evaporation. It's going to protect it, it's going to insulate it, and do all the things that your mulch and your chop and drop does outside. Yeah, wow, crazy, right? Unbelievable. The next thing, the third pro tip is just like outside. We are big fans because we're growing food. This is a hobby. Yeah, we love it. It's fun, but it's not a hobby. This is a way of life. We're growing food to feed ourselves for survival, for health, for wellness, for practicality, What else do you do? Well, I'll tell you what we do. You crowd grow. You grow intensively. So, and now we're not even really doing that here like we should because this is our first year run on this stuff. So we're really just being very gentle and very nice to this stuff. But all space is maximized, and you can't see because a lot of stuff has just been planted. But here, planted throughout, like right here, you could see that. Garlic, right? Next to the malunggay, the moringa, right? And these are gonna grow into huge trees when it gets warm, right? Don't worry about how things look, folks. It's gonna snap back into action, but this normally dead real estate has garlic planted throughout, okay? Has garlic planted throughout. You can take something like this and plant your cut and come again, your lettuce, okay? I encourage you to utilize all of your space. For example, this was a volunteer, I don't know if you can see that, volunteer carrot that came up next to this moringa. It's one plant, but you know what? I'm gonna seed save from this one plant, this happy little guy with a ladybug on there. I don't know if you can see that, that's pretty cool. Ladybugs are good, they are our friends, right? I'm gonna seed save from that. And that is also, again, acting like a solar panel, sucking all that energy, turning it into exudates, sugars, nutrition for this neighboring plant, feeding the microbiology in the container. So we've got here, and this is only some of our containers that we're just overwintering as an experiment. We've got 4 or 5 different types of peppers and chili peppers. The ahi cherry-pita, the moringa, also known as the malunggay. We have turmeric, we have ginger, we have Meyer lemons, we have key limes, we have chives, we have strawberries, we have oregano, we have thyme, we have parsley, a lot of fun stuff, folks. So again, cheap grow lights, bring them inside. Don't worry if they look yellow or they're a little weak or they lose foliage. This is going to be beautiful come next season. Quick recap, 3 pro tips nobody talks about. You have weeds, grass, volunteer plants, let them go. They're providing sugars and food for the neighboring plants as long as they're not competing for nutrients, sunlight, or water. Number 2, you want to chop and drop and mulch and take drying and dead foliage, which again, if it's drying and it's dead on that plant, at one time, it had all the nutrients that the plant needs. You are what you eat. So this has all the nutrition that this plant needs. I just put that on the soil surface. It's going to get back into that plant at some point. So everything, every vitamin, all the building blocks that plant needs to grow is in that dead piece that I just put down, right? All the benefits of chop and drop and mulching in general. Another thing is plant intensively, crowd grow. Don't waste any space. That's like paying rent but not using all the rooms. That's like having a business but not using all your square footage. That's just not a good investment. All right? Those 3 tips. That's all you got to do. And it will dramatically improve your production and the health of your plants. Okay? Let the weeds and volunteers grow. Don't pull them out unless you absolutely need to. Chop and drop, mulch with the plants themselves and the volunteers that if it is outside, the oak leaves that blow in there, or whatever ends up there, leave it there. And just as a side note, this soil started off here. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, only converted into one form to another, right? So this dropped because this was all turned into peppers that we harvested and ate. So guess what? This free volume was part of my growing medium for next year, all right? Saves you money. You don't have to replace all that potting soil. And it's the best ingredient you can put in your potting soil, by the way. And again, plants as much as you can, take up as much space as you can in your containers. All these are good tips for you. And there's offshoots from this. There's way to hugelculture in pots, and just, I think a good follow-up video would be how to create your own growing mediums to save you money, because these tips will save you money as well through your water, through your fertilizing, whether it's compost or organic fertilizer, and also through the volume lost through your growing medium. You're replacing it with your chop and drop, your mulch, and the volunteer stuff that blows into the pots, right? Get the best out of your investment. That's saving you money by crowd growing. I want you folks to treat this stuff just like you would in-ground growing. It's very important, very important. I'm going to do a follow-up video going over how to create your own potting soil, and also how to take cheap, bad potting soil, as long as it's organic and not poisoned, and really amend that and give you a solid growing medium with a lasagna gardening and hugelculture flavor, if you will. I hope you like these tips. These are, again, not really discussed on YouTube too much. There's a lot of other things that are discussed, but they don't touch base on this stuff. Let me know if it works for you. Let me know what you do to save money, to increase production, and to make your plants happy in your containers. Comment below, like, subscribe, share the love. We appreciate y'all. Reached over 100 subscribers, going strong. And we've been in a very positive, happy transition right now. A lot of stuff going on. So we haven't posted as much as we'd like, but stay tuned. We're going to start pumping those videos out in the coming weeks. Thank you so much. Get up and grow. Take care.